All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to wasmCloud Wednesday, June 22nd of 2022. Today, we are going to get started not with a demo, but with talking about some of the major upgrades that are going to be coming to wasmCloud by the end of this week. What you can look forward to, how you can find communications about breaking changes and things like that. So to get started, I think I'll go ahead and hand it to Steve, who's going to talk about the RPC library under wasmCloud, wasmbus RPC.
Alrighty. You may or may not know, wasmbus RPC is a library that's included by actors and providers and provides the RPC layer for sending messages on top of NATS communication. And the NATS library until recently has been pretty much synchronous only, the REST NATS client. They had said they were interested in rewriting it to be fully async, but wasn't happening. So we wrote our own called NATS Afloat as to kind of bridge the time, which was basically a rewrite of the NATS REST client to use REST async. And we've been using that for, I don't know, six months or so. But the NATS team has been diligently working on async NATS, and our team has contributed a bit to that library, and it's now ready enough for production. So we've changed our infrastructure in wasmCloud to use the new async NATS library and get rid of the Afloat library, which was just a temporary thing anyway. And we're testing that now. So right now it's in a few PRs in weld and examples and capability providers. There are interfaces. It's not fully released yet, but when we do, probably either this week or next week, there will be a couple of breaking API changes though, because the new NATS library has some different symbols. So we'll have release notes. It's in general, it'll only take you 5 minutes to do the changes. So but it will be some breakage when you upgrade wasmbus RPC to 0.9. The protocols are all the same, so you don't have to upgrade. You don't have to upgrade immediately, but when you do, you'll have to upgrade. If you've built your own custom interface, you have to do an interface and your actor, or interface and your provider at the same time, because the interfaces also depend on that library. So are there any questions? This is all really exciting that we're being able to move from our custom rewrite fork into something that's officially endorsed by the NATS team.
Steve, I actually have a question and a comment. So here I pulled up on your branch, the branch that's updating to async NATS, the changelog under rpc.rs. This is where all the breaking changes go.
Yes, that's complete as far as I know.
And looking here, I just kind of did like a quick scroll through this. It looks like a lot of the changes that you need to do is if you have a capability provider that also used the ANATS re-export. Is there anything, I know that there are some breaking changes to wasmbus RPC, but in going through the capability providers, is there anything that, say, like the HTTP server provider needed to change when recompiling?
So one change that every provider will need to do is that the provider main function has one new parameter. So that's adding an optional string that we can use to add to traces. So another thing that's going in this change is we're adding open telemetry tracing in both the host and wasm-bus RPC. And because it's in wasm-bus RPC, it means every capability provider will pick up open telemetry for free. So if you start adding tracing, and you'll be able to do end-to-end spans across your distributed wasmCloud network. The extra parameter to the provider main function was for that purpose. Other than that, most capability providers probably don't, and actors may not need any change at all except for a recompile. If you did happen to use the ANATS symbol, which was a re-export of the float library, then there's some name changes, but they're really just name changes. And I think that'll, so that's probably in like the 1 or 2% use case. So probably for almost everybody, the only real change will be adding a parameter to provider main function.
Okay,
and a recompile.
That's really good to know. That's really not a bad upgrade at all, but we can definitely like highlight / bold this one just to say whenever you recompile, you're just gonna need to add a friendly name. You should be good to go for most providers. Awesome. Well, I also kind of had a comment, and just that it's, with this and last week's call about WebAssembly components, it's really exciting to see a lot of these things that we've kind of custom built in the meantime get officially picked up and supported, and to a point where we can replace the custom logic that we're writing. It's really exciting to get to replace these things and get right down to doing what we do best, which is working on wasmCloud, the distributed platform, and not as much managing an underlying RPC or a custom NATS client or anything like that. So I guess it's probably worth giving thanks to Steve. I know it was Tomas and one other person from the NATS team that's really working hard on the async NATS rewrite. Is that who was the other person?
Yeah, there's a Casper, and there's a few folks. I think a lot of the team is working on it, but Casper Bayer.
Nice. Yeah, I just figure we might as well throw them a thank you, because they're working really hard on this client and making it better and better for everybody.
Yeah, it's looking really good, and right now they're adding the Jetstream features, and we do use some Jetstream in wasmCloud, but the actors and capability providers don't use the Jetstream features, so those we're able to convert 100% to the new async NATS library, which is nice.
Yeah, that'll be exciting too, to bring in some more Jetstream stuff. Just for clarity, if you haven't run or looked into the setup that you use with wasmCloud, Jetstream, the additional features don't require anything other than running the NAT server with the JS or Jetstream flag, which is already what we ask you to do in our intro documentation. So there's really nothing additional you need to do to get all the benefits of NATS there. All right, does anybody else have any other questions for Steve on this part? All right, well, I just wanted to kind of talk about something a little bit. Yeah, that's right, Stuart. I did actually get a fix into the async NAS client, which is fun. I'll show up in the contributor list. I wanted to talk about something a little tangential to this. We're going to be releasing wasmCloud 0.55 alongside wasm-bus RPC 0.9. And we've done some due diligence here to make sure that this isn't a required thing that you need to do to remain compatible, but some key features that you'll get by moving to wasmCloud 55 and the newest version of our providers and Wasm Bus RPC is the OpenTelemetry tracing support that you've seen in the last couple of meetings. I think it was 2 meetings ago we showed off the full OTel trace through KV Counter, which is really exciting. If you haven't seen that yet, you'll have to go back and check out that video once we post it. But as soon as you upgrade to the newest version here, you're getting that automatically. There's nothing additional that you need to do. And here in the OTel folder, we actually have a little bit of a guide on how to set up that stuff just in a Docker Compose to keep it simple. Then if you already have your own OpenTelemetry stack, then you'll know how to integrate that. I guess just to elaborate on that just a little bit more, you just specify the exporter for the OTel exporter endpoint. You point that to your own custom exporter. So just to make another one or two comments there, Kevin, our very own Kevin Hoffman has put in a couple of fixes to the host around dispatching RPC to actors. It's going to get a little bit more efficient in this latest version of the host, and instead of just using a straight queue subscription for all of the actors, we'll have a single subscription and do the dispatch internally. This is nothing that you need to modify your actors for. It's just something that's going to make it a little less likely to run into collisions and a little more likely to get the actor request handled as soon as possible. So hopefully we can get some performance numbers published around that to show you. It's a small difference, but to show you some of the difference with the newest versions. As usual, as soon as the 55 version of the host is released, you'll be able to find release notes and downloadable tarballs under the releases section in GitHub. We'll get some of our instructions updated on the website, as well as if you go to wasmcloud.dev, you can go to the releases section to get just kind of a bird's eye view on what we added, what we changed, if there's anything you need to do, things like that. I think that's all that I had from some of the more exciting upgrades that are coming with async nats and the host. Anybody have any questions or want to dive deeper in any, dive deeper a little in the RPC or anything like that? All right, short week. Also maybe a little short meeting. I have a couple of, or really just kind of a fun community announcement from the Cosmonic side, which, us being at Open Source Conf, we were really proud about how cool the booth is shaping up and how we're showing us up at some of these conferences. We're still there. If anybody lives in Austin and wants to come check us out, look for the Cosmonic booth. We talk about that and wasmCloud, of course. Here is a picture of our CEO Liam and engineer Taylor Thomas, who of course couldn't be here since they are manning the booth, but very happy getting some good food out in Austin. And I didn't ask for their permission to share that, so hopefully they are fine with me sharing their smiley faces. But that is all that I can think of from the wasmCloud / Cosmonic community side of things for now. Other than that, keep an eye out. A little bit later this week, we're going to be releasing a blog post about actually this Sunday, the 26th. This Sunday, the 26th, is actually the 3-year anniversary of wasmCloud from when it was first released under the name Waxosuit. You can find Kevin's blog post about where he talked about the introduction, but we're also going to be writing a little retrospective going back on 3 years of wasmCloud, what we've learned and how far we've come. So that should be a fun read. We'll be putting that out. If you haven't seen any of our developer blogs yet, they're out on the wasmcloud.com site under this blog section. We we have a couple there. And this is also actually a great place to go check out if you missed the last community call, this WebAssembly components blog that Taylor released last week. This is essentially the same thing that he went over in the community call, plus a little extra information. Great diagrams on different ways that we're planning on building actors, and some actual code samples. So it may be a lot to get this tried out on your own, but Taylor does have a branch that he was working off of, and we're trying to see when we can start bringing some of this into wasmCloud. So yeah, general call out that we are trying to publish things to our blog much more often now, start talking about what we're doing with wasmCloud and some of the exciting technical things that we're working on. So that is all that I think. Okay, now for real, I think that's all that I had from the community side. Does anybody else have anything from the WASM community that you wanted to, that anybody wanted to bring up and chat about today? This can be wasmCloud related. It can also be general, WASI related, general WASM on the server side, that kind of thing.
Is it open for questions?
Yeah, please.
Sweet. Okay. Yeah, most of my experience with the platform has been just like reading the internals because I'm really like interested in how it's working. And I came across the WAPC. It's kind of like the protocol for executing remote procedure calls. And I was wondering if that was essentially the backbone of how actor-to-actor communication is done in the wasmCloud.
Yeah, WAPC was actually a protocol that we used to use. Oh, hey, Liam, that we used to use under wasmCloud. Hey, Liam, welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Are you tuning in from the booth?
We are at the Cosmonic booth at Open Source Summit here. Taylor and I having a good time. I'll go back on mute.
Nice. Well, Liam, we actually just showed off the booth, the picture, and then your picture with Taylor. Happy smiling faces. So that's great. To catch you up, Richard just asked a great question about WAPC, the library, and wondering if it was really similar to how we run RPC between actors and providers. And that's exactly right. WAPC is a library that we actually used to use directly under wasmCloud for when we had the Rust runtime, which we call 0.18. It was the pure Rust runtime of wasmCloud. Excuse me. When we moved to the .50 release with the Elixir version, we ended up adapting WAPC, a very similar RPC mechanism for our wasmCloud actors. And the whole RPC framework, we're calling it, with WasmBus and WAPC, that's really all in a temporary space. It's one of those things like using the ANATS library or using Smithy instead of components and things like that, where it fills a gap that the ecosystem doesn't really have today, which is passing arbitrary bytes back and forth in favor, and then deserializing them as strongly typed structs and Rust and everything. But all of that is planned to be replaced by this exploration that Taylor has kind of done with WebAssembly components. And the reason why I'm moving there is that the important thing is, instead of having from our perspective, instead of having this proprietary RPC framework underneath us, which even if you're not exposed to, it's still something that you need to compile your actors in mind, or with that in mind. WebAssembly components is something that the community at large is moving to, and that's what we're looking to adopt in the long term in order to do our contracts. Did that kind of help answer your question?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. great question. Happy to answer any other questions too. We got a couple people here from the wasmCloud team. All right, general open forum, anything else that anyone wants to talk about? All right, well then it may be a quick one today, but we got a lot of good discussion. Hopefully you are looking forward to some of the new updates with wasm-bus RPC and the new version of the host. Looking forward to get you all looking forward to getting you all to try the OpenTelemetry stuff, which is really exciting. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. We can all hang out. Looking forward to hearing maybe a little bit more from Liam about how the booth is going, and everybody have a good rest of your day.